uh, he put me in his presence, and he told me about the Quran, and that's the first time I read Quran. But many years previously, I had like a vision where I was praying in a very high place, and they communicated to me. It was like two spirits or individuals that said you should pray in Arabic. They told me as many things, but what I remember from this was I should pray in Arabic. And I woke up, I said, pray in Arabic? This is strange. And then maybe like 10 years later, when I met Eric and he gave me some copies of the Rashad Khalifa's translation about Jesus and Mary, because I was born into a Christian family, and I was always searching for the truth. I always asked God to send me the truth, because in the schools, they would talk about Trinity and these things, and I always didn't make any sense. I would ask questions, and in the end, they would always say, it's a mystery. So I didn't like that, and I always searching for the truth. And alhamdulillah, God, he sent me the truth, you know. And you know, the Quran, it says, when you read this, the believers, they will recognize it like they recognize their own children, and that they were always submitters. So people say, how long have you been a Muslim? I say, all my life, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, at the early age, you were critical, you were questioning falsehood. And
Exactly.
when you met Eric Thornwell?
I went to school at University of Fribourg. So I was in the cafeteria and I met him there. It was 1990.
Wow, you were in Switzerland?
Yes, I studied there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very interesting. Look at the
Studied international law, the history of international relations, and in that time I gave a solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict based upon the Swiss model of government.
That's great. I do think that one state solution, that's the only viable one. I don't think that two-state solution is a lie. Basically, they are kept. It is a delusion. It's a hallucination. Basically, they are. It will not happen. There's no way.
In those days, the biggest question was the right of return. So the Quran says when you leave, you know, you give up your right. Basically, you should stay and fight for your rights. So those that stayed, they had maintained their, you know, Israeli passport and citizenship. Those that left did not. So the right of return, so I gave, this was the biggest issue. So what I suggested was, if the border lines have been drawn and it's 60% Israeli and 40% Palestinian, and they have 100,000 immigrants allowed into the country, then 60,000 should be Israeli and 40,000 should be Palestinian. I thought it was a very simple solution.
Yeah, that's a tough situation, really. To go back, how much back you can go, right of return, and return of the same people or their children, correct?
Right.
That is, tough job. I don't want to enter into entangled situation. It's difficult to solve. Each party has their own selfish agenda. This COVID-19, I think it may change our culture maybe forever. Maybe shaking hands will be forgotten. Will, you know, now you understand why Japanese people are not shaking hands. From far, they greet each other. Most likely in their history, they had some very contagious disease, perhaps. And therefore, it may change our long-lasting cultural symbolism and even the way of teaching and learning. You know, online classes haven't been that popular, but through this one, I think we are forced to get accustomed and accept it. Very interesting, and I don't know how long this will last. Um, it is a huge humanitarian experience. We are all humans. We are experiencing this isolation. Yesterday, first time I went to a friend's invitation, we had a small barbecue party, 4 people. We were there, and we were staying away from each other. How interesting! Yeah.
Well, these universities, these Ivy League universities, now it's not so prestigious anymore, where you pay all these monies, and now you can stay at home and learn on YouTube for free. So God is the only one who teaches man what he does not know. So even the best teachers, the best sheikhs, the best imams, if God doesn't want you to have that knowledge, you will not have that knowledge.
Yeah, a lot of things will change, it seems. But there might be some negative changes too. Small shops, small businesses, if they go out of business, and it will be difficult to uh, replenish them. Maybe huge, big companies, they will take over. We already have major corporations controlling, monopolizing certain aspects of the economy. Imagine, yeah, Amazon got even bigger and bigger, as if it was not enough. Therefore, in that direction, I think we have major problem. People without jobs, without business, monopoly of the economy in the hands of the few. That's the major problem. That's what will happen. And also other things, it could go two ways, both ways, regarding politics. Authoritarian regimes may take advantage of it, and they can ban all human protests and interaction. And the other way, maybe some good lessons will be taken by some governments, that this is a shared human experience. We are dependent on each other. Therefore, if there is problem in other part of the world, it may come hit us. Therefore, we need to have empathy and care about each other's problems. And two ways, and I am curious, let's see which one will win.
That's so
Which
true.
one do you think it would win?
Excuse me?
Which one do you think it would win?
Well, I think the greed, when I know about the greed of the corporations and their control of governments, I think they will be doing some very unconscionable, stupid decision to limit our freedoms further, to increase their power even more. And these will create basically individuals, populations versus governments. There will be major conflict, I think, and this conflict could be overthrowing governments, could be uprisings, or they may do something. They may decide to issue every individual with the UBI, with the universal, what is called universal basic income. I think the world is going towards that. That is an imperative, because the production of many goods and services right now is done by few humans. More production, less workers. and especially with the introduction of artificial intelligence and other means of mass productions, we will have less need for working people, but there will be a lot of wealth and control. But if people are not working, how they will sell those goods and services to whom? If people do not have income. Therefore, in order to create a working mechanism, they need to kind of, in one way, to give back to some people in order to create a working society. That is, I think it is imperative to that majority of people will be living a very modest life, surviving on universal basic income, but few will control the whole world. That seems more possibility. However, if people around the world, they communicate with each other like we do, if we can create a network of people who wants to transcend the borders that have been put between us, superficial borders, we may come up with another way of governing us. Instead of the governments, the traditional governments that manipulated by corporations, we may have our own voice through just direct representation. That is, let's see whether it will happen or not, but perhaps there will be move towards that direction too.
Yeah, you mentioned one standard wage worldwide. That means the wage for, let's say, American worker in America would be the same as, pretty much the same as some other people in the third world country. How do you think that people in America is going to go for it?
I didn't say that, but it is one way to go, or the other, if we have these borders, then it could be for every country different living standards or different income, basic income calculations. But at least there will be move, because otherwise they cannot sustain this economy. People, if they have nothing to lose and nothing to look for, then people will uprise. But on the other hand, there is fear there that they could utilize robots. Right now, they are making, they are able to put cameras on insects, living insects. They are making robots like a fly that can fly, this robot collecting information, or some insects, some animals carrying bombs. Basically, they can monitor activists and kill them or get all the information about them. Therefore, we could have a world like a prison, and they don't need really soldiers for them to fight. Right now, for example, Boston Dynamics, which is a military industrial complex, they are making robot soldiers. And we are watching with kind of awe how great, how funny it is. Look at this jumping and falling and standing up again and carrying some weight. Well, it is all basically creating robot fighters. And then they will put humans versus the robots, the robot manufacturers, the big companies. They will hire those robots, use those robots as their soldiers. They may initially introduce it towards another country, from one country to another country's humans, and then they will use as military police to their own population. Therefore, there is a bleak, very dystopia possibility of dystopia in the near future. That's one way, pessimistic way. The other way is humans will not allow this to happen. And maybe within the corporations, there will be still some people who have with human emotions and empathy. They will object this, and there will be fight against corporations or against robots. Yeah, I think the future will be humans versus robots, populations versus a few major corporations. That's the way to go.
You're talking about New World Order.
Yeah, it is very evident. It is not anymore a science fiction story. Everything is going towards that direction. And therefore, personal privacy will be something in the past, because we'll never be able to individuals to have the technology to beat big corporations and states' technology, which they will utilize it against us. And yeah, the means right now also the the American Constitution, for example, it has articles protecting us against government, but it is a very archaic constitution now. It is old constitution. It was beautiful for a long time. Very good articles there, amendments there. But now we see what government used to do. Right now, it is shifted to big corporations. There is no more anymore town square where you can speak and then you will be protected from government by the First Amendment. The town square right now is Facebook, is Twitter, the social media. And then if you are unjustly treated, if you are censored, or if you are excluded by them, you have no recourse according to the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't protect you from the discrimination of the big corporations. Therefore, you'll be excluded from the town square, which currently I am. For example, Twitter suspended my account. I was very active on Twitter. And then they did not even provide a reason for that. I said which tweet, for example, violated those rules, and they didn't even provide an evidence which tweet. They didn't care. Therefore, now I don't have recourse. I cannot go to the court and sue them for violating my First Amendment, because they will say, well, First Amendment protects you against government. Twitter is not government. But for any practical purposes, Twitter and Facebook, they are the government. In fact, they are bigger than the city of Tucson, the state of Arizona, in terms of their power and their control of the town square. And therefore, that mindset needs to be changed. And there are many similar issues that modern, but it's not addressed in American constitutions or in other constitutions. Of course, I'm not saying because if it is in the Constitution, it will be applied. It's not enough. Therefore, individuals need to wake up and learn about the world they live in, and learn about the greed of the corporations. And of course, corporations can serve us. I'm not denying that. They do some good contribution to our lives in this world. But at the same time, when they become so big, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And therefore, we need to do something about this.
One thing that it made America within last decades very successful was the free market, open market, and competition between different organizations, including commerce. But now, as you mentioned, if they want to consolidate the whole thing into one Walmart, one Home Depot, one Facebook, one this, one that, that's gonna take the competition away. And at the same time that you mentioned it's scary, at the same time, it takes the feeling of the competition away. And that's not quite healthy.
Well, there are other issue. The other issue is there are major powers in the world. They are rivals to each other, like United States, China, and Russia. Of course, some of the corporations may be transnational, but they are not very whole global. Therefore, there will be fight between Chinese corporations versus American corporations versus some Russian corporations. And what will happen there, we don't right now don't know whether they will join forces. If they make, let's say, Chinese corporations, they join forces, they merge with the American corporation, that time it will be even much worse. Right now, there is certain rivalry between huge, these superpowers.
If it's going to be one world government, then why these existing governments are competing for? What they're competing for, what they're challenging for, what is it that they are in dispute? What is it that they can't come to their common senses and move toward one world government?
I don't think that one world government is yet there. I don't think there is a consensus on that. I think there is still nationalism of Chinese, and there's that tribal instincts is not lost yet, and they have their own tribe. They want to compete. They have their own culture and their own language. They want to promote that one too. Therefore, I don't think right now there is a consensus regarding world order between those corporations and governments. And I think right now China still is stealing technology from Western world, and they want to challenge, and they will come number one, dominating the world economy and politics. And that's meanwhile, of course, our rights will be lost. Many of our rights that we are taking for granted now, it may get lost. It is something right now like dice, and it's really difficult to predict which direction it will go. But there are extreme directions. I don't think that things will stay as normal. Either we will have a much egalitarian, just system in the world that will respect for human rights, or we will have very oppressive governments, authoritarian governments competing with each other. Even if they later unite their forces, it will be very authoritarian governments or corporations, corporate governments versus humans. And we are going towards that confrontation.
Right.
Yeah. Anyone has something about this issue? Lambda? You are not listening, perhaps, or
well, honestly, I don't think I'm I don't know enough. I don't think I'm very well informed in this field. Yeah. So I rather.
Most of us not very informed. The issues out there we see, but as a big picture, it is difficult to see it. What's going on behind the scenes. And also right now, apparently, there is a trend towards authoritarianism. United States, China, Russia, Turkey, Brazil, correct? They're all becoming authoritarian. Even British is going towards, just recently, British Prime Minister hired one of his friends or relatives to a position, which is kind of like nepotism. There was at least a norm, not to be nepotistic, but those norms right now are eroding and violated. And therefore, there is a rise of fascism on the other hand, racism in country, India, a lot. Very chaotic situation. Internally, countries, we see there is a lot of tension, and also between countries, and also we have corporations are in competition to take over governments. All is going this way. It's chaotic situation. Yeah. But on the other hand, if I think I am on the side of optimism. I see these negative things. On the side of optimism, I think that majority of people will see that their well-being is with justice and peace, and standing against this force of corruptions. And at that time, hopefully, will be. For example, in the United States, I see a good trend. Young generation is better than the older generation. That gives me some hope. And they are better regarding conscientious about environment. They are more for peace, and they are more for justice. Therefore, if it doesn't change, if it's not played with, because the powerful ones, they are very good in corrupting the young generation too. And then we can have some hope regarding the future, hopefully. Yes. Okay, and I would like to finish it maybe in 10 minutes. This will be a very short one. But I want to keep these Saturday meetings. Hopefully, we'll make it more structured, and we'll invite some people to give a panel kind of presentation on some topics. And then later, inshallah, we may have this in real life, a conference somewhere in the US and then in Europe, inshallah.
That's wonderful. I look forward to it.
Inshallah. And I come to that area sometimes, to New Jersey, Greg. My sister is there, and you are in Philadelphia, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I remember you sent me, you sent out, you were there one time. Unfortunately, that particular day I had, you know, some previous engagement. So
no problem, inshallah. Next time, in fact, I was planning a trip. I got ticket too, but my wife objected very strongly, and I didn't want to hurt her feelings because she wanted to be home safe, and she worried about aeroplane and stuff. Therefore, I canceled my trip. But later, inshallah, when things becomes easier, relaxed, the travel, then would like to meet you, see you there. Inshallah.
Likewise, I look forward to it, inshallah.
And the tall guy is in, I don't know where he is. He always is in another state. He was in Texas and then moved to Dakota or Minnesota, those places. He's an IT guy. He's from Turkey. And Lambda is from China. MashaAllah.
I live in Iowa, but right now I'm going to Yellowstone.
Oh, Yellowstone. I just heard from someone about Yellowstone. That is very good. I think it was you.
It was me.
Yeah, yes, I checked it. It was very beautiful place. But lodging hotel was very expensive. One night, $1,327, I think. One night.
Where was that?
Yellowstone.
Oh, Yellowstone.
Yes. What's how?
Yes, there is probably you went to the area. There is a city called Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's a very rich neighborhood, filthy rich. It has a small airport that the commercial jetliners are bringing passengers day and night. It's very rich, expensive neighborhood.
Najafi, I've been in Yellowstone before. You are right. Jackson Hole is expensive. Everything is expensive, but if you go to Cody, Wyoming, it is very reasonable. Like
Yes.
you can get decent hotel, less than $200. Very reasonable. Yeah. But you don't need to stay right by the park. You don't need to stay right by the park. But here is what's very interesting. I have some friends who park there. If you ever park in the Yellowstone, you should get a rental car because a lot of time the bears attack. You might have some bear scratches,
Right.
the elk horn scratches.
Right.
So you better rent a vehicle.
Right.
So have you been like camping there?
Camping, I couldn't convince my family, but camping is awesome over there if you know how to do camping. What you need to pay attention, you need to hang everything you have on top of a tree, because if you keep the like, let's say shaving cream or some perfume or some food, the bears are going to attack you. So you need to be careful. You need to know what you are doing.
Well, maybe.
That actually, I'm sorry. That actually happened to me the time I was camping in Pennsylvania, and the bears were coming in. Fortunately, I had everything, tied up and out of the way, but I felt so vulnerable because I didn't even have a frying pan to hit this bear with,
Yeah, maybe renting these motorhomes, small motorhomes, like Schnook, which I like it, and there's like camper van, and it may be more reasonable than hotel.
Oh, that's for sure, but you'll be surprised. These days, a lot of people are looking for campers, and the price of campers are being jumped quite a bit, 2-3 times.
Najafi,
Yes.
it's more expensive than the hotels.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Those that had it before, they are a winner. But these days, if you want to rent it or buy it, forget it.
One day, what we
Your voice is disconnected, Tolga. Okay. Thank you very much.
We can go camping together. What I was saying, we can do camping sometime together.
Inshallah, we should do it. You are the best camper. I can trust you. He's an outdoor guy, and therefore I can follow you. Okay, people, nice to hear you. I would like to end this one. Inshallah, see you next Saturday, and I will do invitation a little better, informing people ahead of the time, inshallah. Salam alaikum.